My boyfriend shamed me on TikTok, calling me the ugliest girl he's ever dated before breaking up. So I disappeared without a word. This morning, after ignoring 37 missed calls, I found him crying on my doorstep. When I first met Derek, I was 21 and still naive enough to believe that love was something obvious. You know, fireworks, grand gestures, all that. But Derek was different. He didn't sweep me off my feet in some dramatic rom-com way. Instead, he won me over with the small things. Like the time he noticed I was too cold at an outdoor concert and wordlessly draped his jacket over my shoulders. Or the way he always remembered my coffee order, even when I changed it up. Those tiny, thoughtful details made me feel seen. Compared to the ghosts of relationships past, exes who forgot my birthday or couldn't even text back consistently, Derek felt like a rare find. 3 years later, our relationship had settled into something comfortable, something steady. We had our little traditions. Friday night takeout and horror movies, Sunday morning coffee runs. He was reliable, always calling when he said he would, always making an effort with my family. My mom liked him. My friends thought he was sweet. And me felt lucky. Lucky that I didn't have to question where I stood. Lucky that I had someone who seemed to genuinely care. I won't pretend he was perfect. He could be a little dismissive when I got excited about something niche like a new book series or a podcast I was obsessed with. Sometimes he'd tease me for getting too invested in fictional characters, but I chalked it up to different interests. Relationships aren't about perfection, right? They're about compromise, about accepting someone for who they are. And Derek, for all his little flaws, was a good boyfriend. At least I thought he was. He always knew exactly what to say to make me feel special. I can still hear his voice murmuring, "You're so beautiful," as we slow danced in the kitchen, or, "I don't know what I'd do without you," on nights when he was feeling sentimental. I believed him. I built my sense of security in our relationship around those words. Because why would someone say things like that if they didn't mean them? Even now, I can remember the way he would pull me closer during movie nights. How he'd playfully steal fries from my plate and laugh when I pretended to be annoyed. All these small moments had painted a picture of love in my mind. A picture I trusted. Picture I never thought would crack. But cracks were already forming. Ones I hadn't noticed until it was too late. And all it took was a single TikTok video to shatter everything. It started with a text from Amara. Just a simple WTF. And a link to a TikTok video. I was in the middle of my lunch break, absent-mindedly scrolling through emails when I clicked it. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Just a dimly lit bar, loud music in the background, a group of guys laughing. Then the camera panned, and there he was. Derek, my Derek, leaning against the bar with a drink in his hand, grinning like he didn't have a care in the world. The guy behind the camera was asking something, his voice barely audible over the music. Derek smirked, shaking his head. "Oh man," he said, dragging the words out like he was savoring them. "Probably the most hideous girl I've ever been with." The group of guys erupted into laughter. My stomach clenched, but it got worse. Derek wasn't done. "Nah, for real, she's low maintenance though. Cooks, doesn't complain, so it's been chill. But I'll probably upgrade soon." Another round of laughter. The video cut off there. I stared at my screen, frozen. My brain refused to process what I just watched. This had to be a mistake. Prank. Some kind of sick joke. Because there was no way, that the person in that video was the same man who used to trace patterns on my back while we lay in bed, who once pulled over on the side of the road just to kiss me in the rain. But the longer I watched, the clearer it became. It was real. It was him. 177,000 views. That's what the caption said. Hundreds of comments, people laughing, adding their own cruel jokes. Strangers debating whether or not I was actually that bad. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My fingers felt numb as I scrolled, my heart pounding in my ears. I was reading words, but none of them were making sense. My own boyfriend, the man I had loved, trusted, built a life with, had turned me into a punchline. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to text him, call him, demand an explanation. But all I did was sit there, staring at the screen, unable to move. My food sat untouched. My phone buzzed with more messages from Amara, but I couldn't bring myself to open them. I was stuck in that moment, trapped in the space between the life I thought I had and the brutal reality of what I had just seen. And then, just as the shock started to morph into something sharper, something like rage, I made a decision. Quiet, deliberate decision. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to disappear. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even text Amara back right away. Instead, I finished my shift in a fog, mechanically answering emails, nodding at coworkers, pretending everything was fine. The world kept moving like nothing had happened, like my entire relationship hadn't just imploded in a 15-second TikTok. Every time I blinked, I saw the video playing in my head on an endless loop. His smirk, laughter, probably the most hideous girl I've ever been with. My stomach twisted, but I refused to break down. Not here. Not at work. By the time I walked out of the office, I had already made my decision. I wasn't going home. Home meant seeing Derek, and I couldn't do that. Not yet, maybe not ever. My hands were shaking as I pulled up to a Target parking lot, but I forced myself to move. If I stopped, I would start thinking, and if I started thinking, I would fall apart. So I grabbed a cart and started filling it with whatever I might need for an unplanned disappearance. Clothes, toiletries, a charger because I knew I'd forget mine in the rush. I probably looked insane, tossing random things into my cart, but I didn't care. The cashier gave me a strange look when I checked out with a mix of travel-sized everything and a giant bag of Reese's, but she didn't ask questions. That was good. I wasn't ready to speak it out loud yet. I loaded the bags into my car, got in, and just sat there. The engine was running. My hands were on the wheel. But I couldn't bring myself to drive. My notifications were a war zone. Amara had sent more texts, a mix of "Are you okay?" and furious rants about how Derek was the worst human alive. Missed calls from Derek. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I pulled up my GPS and typed in Amara's address. Her apartment was only 15 minutes away, but when I got there, I didn't go inside. I just sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My whole body felt heavy, like it didn't belong to me. I stared at the dashboard, my breath uneven, Derek's words echoing in my head. Low maintenance. Ill. Grade. Like I was some old phone model he was planning to replace. Like I had never really mattered at all. I didn't realize I was crying until a tear hit my hand. And for the first time since seeing that video, I let myself feel it, just for a second. Then I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and reached for the door handle. I still didn't know what I was going to do next. But I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't go back. I don't know how long I sat in Amara's parking lot, but at some point, the shock gave way to something else. A slow, creeping realization that felt worse than the initial betrayal. I started replaying moments from our relationship. Times when Derek had told me I was beautiful. It had never been extravagant. He wasn't the kind of guy who showered me with flowery compliments, but he said it in ways that had felt real. When I was sick with the flu, bundled up in a hoodie, miserable and stuffy-nosed, he kissed my forehead and murmured, "Still the prettiest girl in the world." At the beach, when I was self-conscious about my body in a swimsuit, he had wrapped his arms around me and whispered, "God, you're gorgeous." Was it all a lie? I tried to picture the Derek in that video, the one smirking at the bar, casually ripping me apart for the amusement of strangers, and match him to the Derek I thought I knew. They weren't the same person. But that didn't make sense, did it? There was no evil twin. No secret doppelganger. It was him. It had always been him. The memories kept coming, but now they looked different. Like a picture I had been staring at for years, only to suddenly notice the cracks beneath the surface. The way he had always seemed just a little too comfortable joking at my expense in front of his friends. The times he brushed off my insecurities with a quick, "Don't be dramatic." How he would roll his eyes when I got excited about something he didn't care about. Had I just ignored it? Convinced myself that these were normal relationship things. I swallowed hard, my fingers gripping the steering wheel as the realization hit me like a freight train. I didn't really know him. I had spent 3 years loving a version of Derek that only existed in my head. I had filled in the gaps, excused the little things, painted over the cracks with whatever colors I wanted to see. And he had let me. A bitter laugh escaped me. I had defended him. To my friends, to my family, to myself. Every time someone had raised an eyebrow at something he said, I had explained it away. He didn't mean it like that. He's just sarcastic. He loves me, he just has a different way of showing it. But love wasn't supposed to feel like this. I let my head fall back against the seat, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed again. Another call from Derek. I didn't answer. I just sat there, breathing through the ache in my chest, finally seeing the truth for what it was. And the truth was simple. Derek had never truly loved me. Not in the way I had loved him. By the next morning, Derek had called me 37 times. 37. I hadn't answered a single one. My phone was overflowing with texts, a mix of frantic apologies and half-baked excuses. Babe, please call me. I was drunk, it wasn't serious. You know I don't think that about you. People are twisting what I said. He was scrambling, trying to control the narrative. But I didn't care. I had spent 3 years making excuses for him. I wasn't about to make another one. I hadn't planned on seeing him. I had fully intended to stay at Amara's for as long as I needed. But when I stepped out that morning to get some air, I stopped dead in my tracks. There on the doorstep was Derek, kneeling, sobbing. For a split second I felt nothing. Just a cold, detached sort of numbness. He looked pathetic. His hair disheveled, his face red and blotchy. This wasn't the confident, charming Derek I had known. This was a man unraveling. Please, he choked out, his voice raw. Just talk to me. I didn't move. I just stared at him. I should have felt something, anger, sadness, maybe even pity. But all I could think about was that video. The way he had laughed so easily while tearing me down. And now, here he was, crying at my feet like he was the victim. I didn't mean it, he continued desperately. You know that, right? I was just trying to impress those guys. It was stupid. I was drunk. I would never. You would, I cut in, my voice sharper than I expected. You did. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He had no defense because there was none. He could blame the alcohol, the peer pressure, whatever he wanted. But at the end of the day, he had said those words. Sober or not, the truth had slipped out. And I wasn't going to unhear it. For the first time in 3 years, I saw Derek exactly as he was. No filters, no excuses, no romanticized versions of him in my head. Just a man who had never truly valued me. I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of it all settle. Then, without another word, I stepped around him, walked back inside and shut the door. And this time I didn't look back.